Let me welcome all of you to this module, Module 3, Building a Development Plan, the Fundamentals. This is a very important module, and it is at the heart of this course. And here we will be looking at the essential elements for building an integrated development plan. And these fundamentals that we will be considering are threefold. We'll look at the vision, the underlying vision informing the plan. That is the first fundamental, the first element we'll be considering. Then the process of defining key plan objectives. In the last module, we talk about if we are doing a plan, you have to have your objectives and so on. Now, the process of defining the objectives, we'll go through that in this one. An assessment of the internal and external factors actually and potentially favoring and constraining the plan, we'll need to know. Then the basic enablers for tapping opportunities and overcoming challenges, we will also need to know. And under COVID-19, we will see the interconnection. We'll see the interconnection, how the challenges can be posed by extraneous or fortuitous occurrences like this. In addition, we will look at the methodologies for mobilizing input into the design of the plan, including the data sets that are required, the tools for processing the data, the sector analysis that must be carried out, and then the hierarchy of plan priorities that we need to take. I mentioned in Module 2 that some of the things we identify there will be coming up, in other modules for better explanation, expansion, so that we can see how the processes unfold. Now, we talk about a vision, national visions, and conceptualization of development plans is a key fundamental. You see, having national vision is a way of including long-term thinking in the planning process. This is where you're planning for the future. And the other time we talk about the horizons. You have a medium term, we have a long term. Now, the vision, when you want to do even the medium term plan, what is your vision of the likely events of the future? You need to have this. Whereas national development plans, normally focus on a medium term horizon. Visions take a longer term perspective to provide a developmental vision for up to 2 decades or more. National visions can be developed in a variety of ways. The basic approaches are top-down, bottom-up, and a mixture of both, But we need to know that a participatory method approach is very desirable. Now, what is visioning itself? Let's look at what visioning means. Visioning, has become popular in Africa in the last 2 decades. And the production of a vision document has become an important part of our planning history. In the planning context, there are various definitions of visioning over the years. Some schools of thought define vision as a clear mental image of a preferable future. Some define it as a realistic, credible, attractive feature. But some visioning is a group-focused activity that encourages people to gather together and get input from others to envision their best possible life. So, but in all these definitions, you will see that future is common. They're really talking about future. Our mental picture of the future is being examined, is being x-rayed. And we're saying that this is not to be done by maybe a public sector organization alone. When you are doing national vision, you need to know certain things, the properties of this, and you need to involve multiple stakeholders. Now, how do we know that, oh, this vision is good? We have a good vision. Because sometimes you can say you want to develop a vision, you put on even a vision document. How do you know that the vision is good? This means we need to know the properties of a good vision. That's what we want you to know. So that when you say, oh, Gambia, we have a vision, some of you must work towards having a good vision when you want to prepare. And there are a number of characteristics. First, a good vision is idealistic. A good vision is appropriate for the nation and for the times. It has this futurity tendency. A good vision sets standards of excellence and reflects high ideals. A good vision clarifies purpose and direction. A good vision is well articulated and easily understood. And usually a good vision is ambitious. It's ambitious, but not necessarily over-ambitious. You understand? Now, let us give an example of a visioning process. I'll quickly, we look at Nigeria example, we look at the Gambia example, because in the last plan, 2018-2021, there's actually a visioning process that is behind that particular medium-term plan that the Gambia put together. In the case of Nigeria, Nigeria has acquired considerable experience in producing vision documents. There was the Vision 2010, there was also the Vision 2020. The latter, which has just been calculated, was produced under a democratic setting, and it passed through a vigorous, rigorous, transparent, and participatory process. Personally, I was involved in this process. We have all various sectors of the economy are covered, various categories of people, various stakeholders. I was a member of the technical committee. I was also a member of the central working group during this process. So we can talk about how elaborate it was. And then if you look at the slide I'm showing you now, we have it started in 2009, in April 2009. And here you see the time frame of how the team proceeded when we're talking about the processes. We have a national technical working group sessions, simultaneous sessions of special interest groups and stakeholder development committees in the 36 states of the federal and Abuja, the federal capital. Similar committees in the federal ministries, departments, and agencies. We also have a central working group sessions, that coordinates, harmonize, synthesize reports from the various technical working groups, including even the diaspora, they were involved, meetings were held in Washington, and so on, various groups. It was really very elaborate. And from April to August, September, and so on, you have all the things that were covered here in that slide. So that looks at the process, in terms of process, what to achieve, and the time frame for achieving this, such that the vision at that time is from 2009, and from this vision you will now distill your development plans. This is the interconnection. We're not just looking at this vision. It's a fundamental. So if you have already a vision document, it will be easy to distill, to prepare your development plans, being guided by the vision priorities set up in your vision document. Now, let's look at the visioning process also in the Gambia. We have an example. The systematic approach to national development planning through a visioning process in the Gambia can be illustrated with the latest plan, the 2018-2021 NDP, the National Development Plan of the Gambia. The plan framework comprises a vision, goal for the national development, and the strategic priorities, including critical enablers that together provide a roadmap for visualizing the plan, as illustrated in the slide we are seeing. So we have the vision, you have the overall goal, you have the strategic priorities, you have the enablers, and you have a framework of accountability. And so that illustrates that process. And this was done to form the basis for the NDP 2018 to 2021. Now, you need to identify the critical enablers, as you see in that last slide. And in the case of the 8 strategic priorities of the plan are to be complemented with the following 7 cross-cutting critical enablers. There are 7 of them. A public sector that is efficient and responsive to the citizenry is very important. It's part of the enabling environment, which we mentioned in Module 2, as also a prerequisite, Now, the second enabler is empowering the Gambian woman to realize her full potential. That is the gender dimension. The gender dimension is brought into focus, that empowerment of women, so that resources can be fairly and equitably distributed, so that inequity can be reduced in the system as growth and development unfold. Now, enhancing the role of the diaspora in Gambian development is also a critical enabler. Another one is to make Gambia a digital nation and creating a modern information society. Now, another enabler is the civil society that is engaged and is as a value partner in national development. Also, we want to strengthen evidence-based policy, planning, and decision-making. So these are the critical enablers identified in the process of visioning in the Gambia. But now, generally, the importance, the benefits of vision cannot be overemphasized, and we can highlight some of them. Now, if you start with the visioning process, the key benefits can be identified. First, it attracts commitment and energizes the people. It also creates meaning in people's lives. It establishes a standard of excellence. Because we set your targets, we tell you that it has to be ambitious. It bridges the present and the future. That interconnection must reflect. It promotes like focus. You have to be focused. You have to be focused. This is your goal. This is the target, and you work to fulfill the goals and then meet the target. And it builds confidence and loyalty through involvement. There has to be ownership. Be confident in the system, because the process has to be participatory. It's a multi-holder participative process. You see, the stakeholder they're already aware, and then there will be commitment to play their own part as implementation of the plan commences. Now, but nevertheless, sometimes when you are preparing this vision, you are in a society, a dynamic society, a democratic society. Particularly, we have a pluralistic democratic society, and you see multiple parties and multi-party and so on, and you will have critics. Is Herculean. The process is a Herculean process, but not an impossible one. Planners should therefore be wary of key factors that can disturb, that can be an impediment to the process, and we can measure a number of them. So when this one comes up, you don't because of that be discouraged, and you probably also you'll be dissuaded from doing what is right. No, and we have to reflect on this. First, tradition and operation within the thinking boundaries. Some people are tradition bound. You want to set a target to do this. You want to set productivity targets in various sectors, in manufacturing, in agriculture. You want to set the target. So you say no, it's unachievable. There'll be critics. Then fear of ridicule. Some planners, when you are holding your meetings, stakeholder consultation, and so on, some people, they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be criticized. They may say because of that, then don't let us go as far. Don't let us go to the grassroots and so on. No, you should be wary. This can block the system and the process. Now, stereotypes of people, conditions and rules, complacency of some stakeholders. Some stakeholders will be simply complacent. And you have to set your target in terms of time to complete the process. Set this process of consultations, writing up of the report. Maybe you want to do this in 6 months. But if you are distracted, you have to be wary of distractions. Then you will not comply with the milestones that you have set for yourself. Now, short-term thinkers with parochial approach to problem resolution and myopic view of issues will also come as some distraction, be hindrance. It constitutes themselves into some obstacles because their own thinking is they have a short-term horizon in their analysis and so on. Now, some are pessimists. So pessimism of commentators, you must watch out and then not be dissuaded. That's why focus is important. You have to have the focus so that you are not dissuaded. Now, you have to also, now we've finished with the visioning process as a fundamental. One other fundamental which we must mention now is the impulse into the design of the plan. How do you mobilize the impulse? First we have to review documents, extensive documents from these various sectors, and usually the Bureau of Statistics will also have a lot of information which you gather. But then, in terms of looking at objectives, having a consensus on the matter, and you will have to have stakeholder participation and get their inputs from them. Now, various categories of stakeholders also may have done some work, they have data of certain things, they bring it to the table during the consultations. And then you collect a lot of data, the data will be processed, and then they will inform the various decision-making processes along the line. So it is very important. Now, there's the macroeconomic framework, which you need to consider when you are doing planning. We'll talk about this in another model, but is an important fundamental we need to consider. It features macroeconomic projections for the whole economy. What do you expect? What is the growth rate you expect? And for various sectors of the economy in terms of supply, demand, look at investment, look at public expenditure. You need to look at trade and so on. You will need to make all these projections of growth, look at savings and so on. So we are going to consider this in another module. But it is important that when you are doing this, you have to be guided by this macroeconomic framework to see the direction of growth and development in the whole economy as you are putting the various pillars together, and then as you are strengthening the enablers to achieve the objectives of the plan. Now, another important fundamental is another fundamental that is critical is the practice of participatory planning. That we mentioned that planning must be participatory. And a participatory planning approach is fundamental to the crafting and implementation of national development plans. Meaningful conduct of participatory planning requires adequate and high quality human resources. The required skill can be grouped into 3 categories: organizational skill, analytical and cognitive skill, and interpersonal skills, because you meet different people with various backgrounds, disciplinary focus, and so on. Now, let us use the Gambian example of participation. and the techniques that have been involved, even to disseminate and so on. Now, in the last plan, the 2018-2021 plan, there are a number of techniques which government identify and which they actually use. Government decided at that time that they will use public campaigns on key policy issues and messages to mobilize public action. And this will be done through simple messages, using posters, banners, pamphlets, public education talks, radio, and television in various parts of the country. Government will set up forums for citizens' engagement and create opportunities for citizens to interact with public officials at all levels. And this will be done through town and village hall meetings, dialogue forums, panel discussions, focus group discussions, and other mechanisms such as Meet the People tours. These are the things that are enunciated as the direction to take when you want to forge participatory planning as far as government is concerned. And government is also to establish digital platforms. You know, we're in a digital age now with information and communication technology. We want to reduce digital divide, and so everybody is striving to create platforms, digital platforms, to strengthen engagement. A great number of Gambians have access to the internet and social media, digital platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and so on. So these platforms, innovative techniques, are also part of the participatory techniques. Social media was a valuable tool in the fight to end years of tyranny and dictatorship that in Gambia, like the government was pointing out. And so it is now to turn it around and use it to promote development. So government has really realized what effects it could have. It could be negative or positive, but the positive aspects, government trying to use it to disseminate and then articulate messages, clear messages during the planning process. And also, another thing is to build public interest on policy issues in terms of having even a feedback unit that will build social media platform to ensure a more active and engaged public. A robust social media policy was to be developed based on international best practices and benchmarking, even to support that plan. And all public institutions will be required to develop a public service charters, the use of service charters, which will outline the standards of service delivery. You know, the other time we talked about standards, you know, that must be emphasized. And so we can have public charters which will outline these standards so that citizens can expect a minimum standard, high enough to guarantee satisfaction for whatever services they require. And this was supposed to be done during the first year of plan implementation. The tasked with conducting regular surveys through citizen scorecards so that even the assessment of that will be participatory and will not be by government alone, but the citizens themselves will, through scorecards, be able to assess and see the effectiveness and efficiency of service delivery under the plan. Now, let us summarize the benefits of this. If there is participation in this way, then you can have improved governance, you can have increased quality of the functions performed and services provided by public agencies. There will also be revitalization of democratic practice in general. There will be increased community cohesion and unity and capacity to reduce alienation of the individual. And then public interest will be gathered to make public agencies more responsive to the needs of the public and disadvantaged groups in society. This citizen engagement and participation techniques will work in a positive direction in this regard, so that citizens themselves can work as watchdogs of the society. So if you have that kind of participatory planning approach, that is one area. That's one area where an advantage, where you can have an advantage. Now, communicating and disseminating the plan. this is a fundamental issue. When you have your plan, it is not to be kept in the shelf and is not to be known only to those who prepare it, only to public sector bureaucrats and technocrats. No, you need to communicate the plan. You need to disseminate the plan so that the citizens are aware of what is there for them. The expectations are known, and so you need to let people know what plans you have for them. This is very critical. To communicate the plan to stakeholders, the beneficiaries of the various policies, programs, and projects, and to the citizens alike is fundamental. More often than not, a plan is prepared and it is launched. Just launch the plan. Thereafter, implementation begins, leaving the generality of the people in doubt of the content, as well as the roles and responsibilities of potential implementers and beneficiaries. And in spite of its critical importance, the need and strategies of communicating the plan are often not recognized. They're often not recognized. But we need to know the need for communication. There are 4 areas we need to consider in this. You need to disseminate sector policies, programs, projects, and progress reports to inform the public. This is essential. You need to create awareness on the expected roles of the stakeholders in the implementation of the programs and projects in the plan. There's also the need to promote dialogue and generate feedback on the performance of the sector. And also to promote access and manage expectation of the public concerning the services being delivered by the sector. So in view of all these factors, you must design communication strategies into the plan, and you must implement this as the plan implementation commences. Now, many of the dissemination strategies, communication strategies, you have to see, like when we discuss the vision, we talk about a good vision. How do you recognize a good vision? Or what do you need to do to make the vision look good? The same thing. The knowledge products, what you need to communicate. What you need to communicate to people. We need to examine the characteristics. What are you disseminating? Are you passing the wrong information? Are you using the right technology, the right technique? And here we have itemized a number of characteristics. Now, based on an assessment of needs and demand for the product among targeted users, you have to ensure relevance, effectiveness, and usefulness. Whatever you are using, if it's leaflet you are using, if you have to make a broadcast, you are using posters. How do you communicate? What are the key messages? These are the things the experts have to think about so that good knowledge product will go out to the people, communicate the right words, the right messages will be sent across and at the right time. Now, it has to be designed for a specific audience, considering functional needs and technical levels. It is not the same method you use for various types of stakeholders. The particular audience to a particular knowledge product. Now, it also has to be, you have to consider the relevance to decision-making needs, the feedback we are giving, how relevant it is, and the information you want to even from people, how relevant is it to the decision needs of project and program implementers. Now, the data that you want to project or communicate to people must be presented in a clear manner. So that, because some information must not be confusing, the information must be accurate, accuracy must be guarded. Now, when appropriate, developed through a participatory process and validated through a quality assurance process with relevant stakeholders. You see, to do this, you can pass these things through a kind of a quality assurance process, so that you know exactly how you target the audience and then the right information also be the way you code the right information, so that that can be done also in have quality assurance to guide that. Now, there must be consistency in the presentation of products to enhance visibility and learning. That's an important characteristic. First of all, I mean, when, after having known the characteristics, we need to look at the practical steps for developing knowledge products for dissemination. Now, because some of you may even be involved from time to time, you know, you want to get feedback, you want to communicate, there are practical steps which you must know in order to do this, because from time to time we fall back on the experts to give these clear messages, to distill the key messages, to use proper visualization techniques and to make things accurate. So if you want to present this, you need to know the stages. So let's go through these stages or the steps. First, you identify target audience and their information needs. That is the first thing to do. Okay, this information is going to the grassroots. This information is going to the maybe the media. This is a press release. This one is going to the television. This one is for radio discussion program. Or you're going to the manufacturing society of in the country. You want to talk to them, yeah, and you want to talk to stockbrokers. You want to, you know, you look at the audience. Now you collect stakeholder contact information. How do you get them? Okay, this is where they are. Okay, you already get their contact information. Then you determine the types of products that meet the audience information needs. The first step is to identify language requirements per product and audience. Sometimes you may have to translate. If it is, let's say English is the lingua franca, you have some leads or people who are educated, you want to get that written in English. Sometimes you have to translate to local languages to address some particular. So you need to identify this and their requirements based on the nature of the audience. Now, the first step is to determine efficient forms and dissemination methods per product knowledge. If, for example, you have your annual reports, most of these things we're talking about, the knowledge products, annual reports can be annual reports. Is it going to be a lengthy report? How is it going to be prepared? Or there'll be graphical illustrations, visualizations, and so on, or probably your scorecards, tabulations, and so on, the information you put into it. Or sometimes you want to issue brochures, or then you prepare news bulletins. In the government itself has its own information department where experts will process this. So you need to determine efficient forms and dissemination methods. Now, you monitor feedback and measure results of the dissemination efforts. So it's not just to release information or communicate. It's a two-way process. You want to communicate information, you must realize that it's a two-way process. So you have to also have a way of looking at the feedback and learning mechanism for the effectiveness of the dissemination strategy and quality of the particular knowledge product. So these feedback mechanisms, you have to work it out so that you also hear back from your audience. So this brings us to the end of Module 3, and then later on we also have exercises on this. And let me remind you the quiz that has been prepared to track your performance in this course comes up after each module, and it relates to every module. All the 6 modules we have some quiz that you're going to work out. The questions are there to test your knowledge, and then in the practical sessions we can have further debate. So thank you for your rapt attention.